Everybody, it's Eddie 9 Volt. It's Eddie 9 Volt, man, and you're listening to WRFG Atlanta, Good Morning Blues with UK Bob. London to Louisiana. Dude plays the best music, man. Tune in, drop out, dig it.
Have you seen my baby? She drive me crazy, yeah. Funny things she do. I seen her with a milkman driving down the street. When you're through with my baby, hey there, send her home to me. Hold on, hold on, hold on, hold on, hold on. She has been gone. Hold on, hold on, hold on. I seen her with the gypsies dancing in the woods. She always been unfaithful to me. She ain't never been no good. I said, please don't talk to strangers, baby. But she always She says I'll talk to strangers if I want to, 'cause I'm a stranger too. Yeah! Hold on, hold on, hold on, hold on, hold on, hold on. You know it's been oh so long since she has been gone. Hold on. The band could play. At just about midnight, well, they decided to call it a day. Now there's one thing that's left here on their mind. Yeah, yeah, yeah. To get a little slice at any price, yeah. To store the shoes of rice and surrender to the rhythm that is calling them home. Oh, she was dumb, she was dirty, yeah, but she was a princess. Custom made to fit right in to his arms. She could thrill him, she could chill him, woo, down to the bone. But he was in his teens, yeah. He had to spill the beans. Still looking for ways and means to surrender to the rhythm that is calling him home. I used to say if it's right or wrong, not another singer in another song. I say we're doing alright. Yeah, we're doing okay. Doing okay.
Give my regards to Sergeant Fury. He wanna be the judge and jury. He teach me everything I know.
quick dabble into 70s London pub rock. What did we do? Funky But Clean by Eggs Over Easy. Checkbook, which is the band Legend, which features a fantastic frontman who you're going to hear more of because he's still out there doing it today. Mickey Jupp. What did we do next? I can't remember the order we played things in. Let me have a look, see what we got. Yes. Have You Seen My Baby, which was Steve Ellis. And if you remember the band Love Affair, hit song Everlasting Love, that was stuff that he was doing after that. And then Surrender to the Rhythm by Brinsley Schwartz. That's the title of the compilation of stuff I'm pulling from. Interestingly, Bob Andrews, the keyboard player who focuses greatly on all the albums from Brinsley Schwartz, is a chap that I'm going to catch up with when I'm in Santa Fe, New Mexico this summer for a few weeks. So you'll get to hear more about that. And finally, Sergeant Fury by one of my most absolute favorite bands, the sensational Alex Harvey Band. Wonderful theatrical rock, super stuff. That's for my buddy Dave. It's time to go find my guest. Where is he? He's probably drinking tea, having chocolate biscuits somewhere. Let's go find Colin James.
Hi, this is Dana Gillespie from London, England, to tell you about the second best way to wake up. Just tune in to UK Bob and his Good Morning Blues show and feel good for 4 hours on WRFG Atlanta.
Well, it's Good Morning Blues on a Thursday. My pleasure to bring you a guest from the furthest corner away from where we are today, Mr. Colin James, up there in the beautiful part of the hemisphere in Vancouver. How are you doing, buddy?
I'm really well, thank you. Really well.
And well done for keeping the dogs at bay and not letting them get too excited. I had a situation the other day. Marc Broussard down in New Orleans kind of got heavy into discussion, forgot what he was doing, and walked out from where he was. And the dogs were so happy to see him, and you could hear it.
Yeah, we have every size and shape over here, so.
So you and I are getting high on whatever form of Claritin we are choosing right now because it's spring down here and up there, and we're trying to maintain voices because you're heading our way for Tuesday, the 18th at Eddie's Attic, and you haven't played there, and I think that anybody that gets a chance to come out is going to thoroughly enjoy what you bring.
I hope so, man. We have a great little band. I'm just loving my band right now, and it's a 4-piece. Often I'll have a 5, but we're only taking a 4.
So this will be what? Jeff, Steve, Chris,
and Steve Mariner, Jeff, Chris, and hold on. Let me
and the B3? Surely not.
No B3. We just couldn't do a B3 this time. Yeah, I own one. Actually, I actually own my own B3, if you can believe it. No, unfortunately, lately we're not bringing. We're just trying to slim things down there. But we did the whole Buddy Guy tour with a 4-piece, and we got quite used to it, and it's all right. I don't mind it. In most of my career, I had I guess 5-piece was my general thing, and I do love playing with a Hammond organ, but we can't do it on this run.
Well, I had my fingers crossed, but I thought that would be a big ask. I am drawn towards anything with a horn section and B3. That's my jam, So I know a lot of those players. This is why I end up in New Orleans half the time, and certainly Jazz Fest will be full of that. But no, even so, that's still a very talented team of guys that you have there. And the stage isn't big, but you won't feel uncomfortable. Everybody melts together, and it fans out in a V, so that everyone's got a great view and very good sound. So it'll be just fine. But I haven't seen you. We've talked before. We did this in 2016, and I think either I was traveling or there wasn't a gig here or something. But somehow I didn't see you, so this will be my chance to make up for that, and I apologize, but sometimes that happens. I like to move around like you do. one of the things that I thought was funny about where you are, now maybe it's changed. I went there once quite a while ago, long before it was so complicated, probably 15, 20 years, and we wanted to go across the border to an IKEA, which nobody down here had ever heard of at the time, to pick up some special CD racking. And I went across, and coming back, realized that I might have a problem because I didn't have my driver's license with me or my passport. Well, I think maybe it was the passport I didn't have. Yeah. So anyway, we're talking to the guys at the border. Said, I say, awfully sorry, did a little bit of shopping and don't seem to have the passport, and I think my driver's license was out of date or something. The guy literally said to me, oh, you're British. Oh, well, that's okay then. Off you go.
Well, that's good.
Well, that was that, you know. I don't know whether he thought I was Paul Rogers, who lives in, I think he lives in White Rock.
Well, actually, now he lives in the interior, I think. He lives up
city boy, eh?
Well, I think he's back in the country, actually, as far as I know. But
okay. Yeah, there's I also, Bria Skomberg, the trumpet player, is from Chilliwack, and that's always a big joke.
Right, Chilliwack, yeah.
But anyway, so that's my exposure to that, and I'm going to ask you the question. It may have been fixed. I would look around the downtown. I loved it there. I like the mountains. I like the topography. But I couldn't understand something, and no one could answer the question. Every big glass building around the bayfront area has green glass. Why?
Green glass. I think it was just a trend. I think when a lot of those buildings went up, it was just a building trend. And it probably has a darkening effect on the amount of light that gets through, I imagine. But I don't think it was, I think it was just basically an architecture fad, honestly.
No, I wanted something more exciting and secret that nobody knows.
Well, maybe I'll have to look into it now. I never thought about it.
Anyway, it was a great spot, and it was fun. But anyway, so the album, the current album that we're playing from, Open Road, which people are going to hear in a minute, was something that was compiled over a longer period than you would have liked to because of this little disease that came around, and then was extra complicated by our friend Dave. How do you pronounce his name? Nesmoris? Mazeros, okay.
Yeah.
That's an M, not an N.
But it's not.
Yeah. Who was working in London at the time. So you had, it's bad enough with the 5-hour time difference. Now you add another 3 hours. It's like it's time to stop as soon as you get started. So that really added to stuff. I love being on the West Coast for a variety of reasons. I just wish you could have Southern California on East Coast time. That would be the perfect place to live.
Yeah. Well, exactly. Well, if you're dealing with someone in London, England, it really did create a lot of problems. We were touring, we were playing Yoshi's in San Francisco when the pandemic hit. And at that point, I had maybe done, in the studio, I'd done maybe 3 or 4 bed tracks at that point. And, where you'd get everyone in the studio and you don't finish songs. You just basically get the bass and the drums together. And we got back off the pandemic, ran back to Canada. And then over the next 2 years, had 2 more sessions. I couldn't use a lot of my East Coast band because most of my band are from, Toronto. So we really had to I had to use other people I knew here. And we did 3 separate sessions with maybe, 6, 7 songs each because I always over-record when I make a record. You never know. Sometimes in your mind you think, I think I could do a good version of this. And then it just doesn't lift for whatever reason. And sometimes songs you didn't expect to lift way higher than you expected. So I always over-record because I can't completely predict how that's going to go. And then, we had to basically, he was in London going to business school because he's an engineer who decided to take business in university in London, England, and met a woman there, and he's still there now. So we had to get
always a woman at the source of everything.
Yes, right. A good thing too. Anyway, so we had to, if I got up at 11 in the morning, it was already 8 o'clock. Because don't forget, it's not even 5 hours. It's more like 9 hours because Vancouver, So it was just very difficult, and it just took a long time. I'm used to the old school of recording where you get together with the producer, the band comes in, you do 2 weeks with the band or less. So, that was the old days when there was budgets. Now you go in and do 4 days. And this time, we didn't have that luxury. So, I mean, you do that, and then I'd fly home for a little bit. Then I'd go back with the producer, and we'd finish the whole thing in, a 3-week window. But now with this pandemic record and having my producer so far away, we just had to kind of stick to it. And because of the pandemic, we were in no particular rush. But it just created. I just had to make extra long lists, and it was just difficult. I'll have to tell you, though, as far as technology was concerned, it worked flawlessly. So I would send him a little code. He would take over my computer, long distance. So next thing, my mouse is flying around my computer,
Yeah.
And it's him. And he's crossfading, and he's editing as I'm singing and playing. And it was truly fantastic. We had a piece of software that allowed us to hear exactly the stereo image at the same time. There was no time delay. So that was remarkable. I mean, I have to say, physically, the working on the album wasn't the problem, but I just don't like that separation, and I don't like taking so long.
It is difficult, and you have to be grateful for the technology, which, started in the late 80s, but I would say every 6 months it's leaps and bounds. And so you were in a period where you had some maximum cool tools to be able to do all that. It's like we joke about 2 cans and a piece of string, but it wouldn't matter if he was the other side of the desk or the other side of Europe, but the technology allows you to be as close as you need to be. It's just whatever you're used to. And I've been in rooms where the band is there, and I can feel it, and it's harder, for me to imagine what it's like for the musician because I'm not one. But yeah, you probably had to adapt, and yes, the Post-it notes must have gone into reams of stuff because the time gap and the things that you've done in between means you've got to remember where you left off.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing about making a record. Often it's little comments, like you might be working on something else, but you'll turn around and go, "Oh, by the way, the bass is too loud on so and so."
Yeah.
And then he goes, "Oh, okay." Well, that's the kind of thing. So yeah, I would just make massive lists. At 2 minutes and 32 seconds, that word needs to be, that kind of stuff.
Well, funny enough, we're stuck with the same problem here. On radio, because we've got to sew everything together very differently than we used to. A lot of it is digital, pre-made, little jigsaws that fit together. And yes, it's cleaner and it's more, should we say, the results are more efficient, but at the same time, you lose that spontaneity or that companionship with the community, the audience, etc.
Yeah.
So everything's a trade-off. But the end result is, you've got an album that plays really well. There's a lot of variety, a lot of pace, difference, in pace, difference in style, difference in delivery. So it doesn't sound piecemeal. It does sound like it was all rolled in together because the technology allowed you to do that. And the end result, I thought, was fabulous. It's not an old school blues album. It's very modern, and yet you drew upon a ton of the big names that you chose to cover. And I think there was an Albert King in there, an Otis Rush, and a few others. Very interesting choice, an unpredictable choice. And I think that's what listeners want. They want something that band really meshes well together. He delivered everything in a great format, and that threaded through all the different pieces. But that's why you hit so many different things. And I think if you put your arms out as wide as you can, you will catch quite a big stool of fish with something that's got so much in it. So well done.
Thank you so much. It's like I've had 20 records out now, and since I started in 1988, and there's only there's an infinite amount of songs. I write songs. I've never been, I was playing blues since I was 15, 16 or earlier, and there's there's a finite amount of fantastic material out there, whether it's Charles Brown or Tiny Bradshaw, or you name it, Cab Calloway or Albert King. But sometimes you're shocked when you hear a song and you go, I don't remember hearing. Like I put an Otis Redding song on this last record, and I'd never heard it before. I bought some vinyl one day and I put on the song. The song, and I thought, Otis Redding, we've all heard so much, and you kind of think you've heard it all. And I heard this beautiful ballad that I had never heard. So those are moments that still happen. I mean, so that's exciting. There's a lot of stuff and a lot of beautiful material, and I'm trying to figure out what to do next now. I have this record, and I'm excited about that.
That's the hard part, is what's the direction from there. I want to give the audience a listen, and we're actually going to play one of yours. I can best explain it. There's a direct connection to what we were talking about as to, I'd already chosen I was going to play this, simply because Open Road, the album title, really does represent that with the content. And again, another reason to draw people in. Everyone can attune to what you're doing. And the song is called Leave This House. And the reason I picked it up is because you wouldn't know this, but I'm going to be playing selections from a box set called Surrender to the Rhythm, in and around us on this show. And it's the pub rock scene from the 70s. This track, to me, stood out as that is very much what I would have heard if we were still playing pub rock in Camden Town today. And
like Dr. Feelgood and
all those guys. It just fit right in, and I thought, well, I want to play one of your songs, so that's what we're going to do, and that will kick us into the next thing. Those of you that were late, please email your apology, ukbob@mindspring.com, and we might let you back on the air. We're talking with Colin James, who's going to be here on Tuesday, the 18th. There is bugger all else going on Tuesday. You've got no excuse to not get out and hear a very cool artist with a hot band put on a big show for you. So I'm going to give you a listen right now.
Just like Cain and Abel, let the devil come around. I'm the king of the garden with the state for crown. When the Lord points his finger, that's when I'm going down. Well, I ain't no angel, but I like to pretend I'm the king of the road on the prairie wind. Gonna roll down the highway till I get to the end. But when I leave this house, I ain't coming back. Leave this house, I ain't coming back. Tie my sins to a railway track. Leave my initials in chicken scratch. The garden oven has broken my back. When I leave this house, I ain't coming back. coming back. Tie my sins to a railway track. Leave my initials in chicken scratch. The garden of Eden has broken my back. When I leave this house, I ain't coming back.
On behalf of the board, staff, and volunteers, we want to send our appreciation for your support during our recent on-air fund drive. We are most grateful for those who donate faithfully to ensure that we stay on the air, providing you progressive news, information, and quality hand-picked music. We want to remind those who pledged to please fulfill your promise as soon as possible. You can simply mail your donations to 1083 Austin Avenue Northeast, Atlanta 30307. You can also utilize our secure online donation portal at WRFG.org. Again, we cannot thank you enough for the generous, loving support of your independent community radio station, 89.3 FM and WRFG.org. We exist, resist, and persist because of you.
Hey, what's going on, y'all? This is Mark Broussard, and you're listening to WRFG Atlanta, London to Louisiana. Don't be eating them green bananas. Let the kids believe in Santa.
Okay, that's British pub rock to me. Fits in perfectly with a ton of the great artists. Now, whether or not you were influenced, you couldn't have been because you did it over here, just because Dave's over there twiddling the knobs. Shouldn't make any difference, but there is a lot of variety in there, and that's a good example. Nice. You've toured with tons of big-name people. Was there any particular highlight that stood out to you over, let's see, album 20, and you've been doing it for spread over 34, 35 years? Any particular artist that still makes your hair, neck stand on end?
Well, oh my God, I've been really lucky that way. I mean, I got to play with Albert Collins quite a few times, and every time was a blessing, you know. Stevie Ray Vaughan obviously was massive for me. He got me up on stage when I was opening up a show one time, and then ended up happening quite a lot over the years, and I got to play a few of his guitars, and that was always. We became kind of fast friends, and Stevie, all those moments are unforgettable. Touring Germany with Luther Allison and Bernard years ago was fantastic. Bonnie Raitt, who's a longtime friend now. I mean, all those memories are just incredible. And touring with Little Feat. In fact, we played the Fox Theater in Atlanta, opening up for Little Feat years ago. Yeah. And went back with Richie Hayward on drums and just killing it. We opened up for the Stones on 3 shows with my little big band. That was all the Room Full of Blues guys.
Oh, is that the swing band?
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that too.
You know, I love those records. I did 3 of them, 1, 2, and 3. My first one came out in 1993. And we did it with, you know, all the Roomful, basically all of Roomful except for their lead singer at the time, Chris Vachon. And it was just a beautiful experience. We did the record in 2 weeks, mixed, like started to done, completely done. And Chris Kimsey was the producer from London who did Frampton Comes Alive and all that. And
we had Roomful of Blues in a house concert in Atlanta. That was just one of the wildest I can remember. That was 15 plus years ago, squashed into a house, spread all over the place, but a lot of fun.
Oh yeah, well they were like playing with the Chieftains, you know. But you know what I mean? Because the Chieftains like Paddy Maloney would know every fiddle tune, and his band didn't even have to talk about it. They'd say, "Oh, that's off Bonaparte's Retreat," you know. Well, the room full was like that. Like, I picked a bunch of Roscoe Gordon, a lot of Roscoe Gordon on that record. And they knew it all. So there was no charts. We didn't write charts. You know, we did 3 Hours Past Midnight by Johnny Guitar Watson, and it was just like, go. And for me, I was 25 when or maybe 20, I can't remember how old I was when I did that. And I never met them before. Like, they flew into Vancouver, and we did that record. I basically came in. Chuck Leavell was playing keys. We had Reese Winans on keys as well, so we had two of the best keyboard players practically in the world. And it was just such a joy, you know, and this is before kind of Brian Setzer had his first swing record out. So people didn't know what to do with it. And I remember flying down to Los Angeles because I was signed to Virgin Records America. And they just went, we like it, but we don't know why you'd want to do this. So I actually had to get Canada to release it. And it actually ended up selling almost more records than, I think we sold 300,000 in Canada alone. And it was just, no one expected it. And it was just exciting to know, you know, back in 1993, blues rock kind of hit a wall, you know. Los Lobos, Robert Cray, you know, all got kind of inched out by Pearl Jam and the new rock. So it was a way for me to do something else, trying to figure out how to be different, you know.
You've had way too much fun with all these people that you've been playing with all these years. So obviously it's going to be hard to say pick a highlight. But have you sat back and thought, okay, who haven't I played with that I would like to in the next year or two? Does anybody stand out?
Well, I'm trying to think. A lot of my heroes are like, I mean, obviously, I love Lark and Poe are doing great work these days. I'm loving seeing them do so well. That's exciting, really exciting. Kingfish, I got a chance to play with. Well, I didn't play with Kingfish, but he came and heard me play on one of the blues cruises recently, and I got to just, you know, meet him a little bit. And he's very, very good, you know, very tapped in, and I'm happy to see him do so well. Buddy Guy, I've known for years, but I really got to know him a little better on this in the last year on that tour. We did 19 shows in a row with Buddy, and that was such a pleasure, you know, to see someone of his stature be so gracious. And so he gave me 45 minutes a night, you know, not a half an hour, 45. Yeah,
that is, for those guys, that is nicely generous, but that's because he gets it, you know?
I think so, yeah.
So maybe it'll be somebody, you know, on what I call the new blues groove. There's a lot of new people out there that I bring to the radio and try and provide an audience for that aren't getting heard, that are hugely talented, starting to break out, but maybe haven't reached your ears yet. People like Eddie 9-Volt and Mississippi McDonald, young people, you know, that maybe that's who knows? It's something you're going to stumble across and go, aha, this works. But aside from looking at who, the other part of it is the how and the travel, because I would imagine, and I've got different answers from different people, but everyone agrees that it's very different being on the road today, you know, after the lost years versus before the lost years. And in your case, you got to deal with the weather, which to me means, man, that's a huge range of clothing, right?
Yeah.
From Vancouver to Florida. Okay, I want to know who. I'm just looking at your tour list. How did you allow someone to get you from Nashville to Buffalo and then home? I mean, it couldn't be more extreme. Are you driving?
We're driving, yeah. We're driving
a
Mercedes Sprinter. You know, that's the new tour bus these days.
It's the standard, yeah.
Yeah. Tons of PS4 bus golf is what ends up happening. But, you know, I'm used to it. I like it. You know, when my kids were growing up, my wife couldn't come with me on the road. Now we often we go together because my kids are older and they can stay here, and so that's been fun for me after years and years of touring alone with the band. I'm enjoying that. But you know, I'm very grateful to be getting this not a second chance, but, I was signed originally to an American label. I had all that kind of major label money put behind me. And we had a single called Just Came Back in those days that I recorded in Arlington, Memphis. And it got to like number 2 or number 3 on the American rock charts. And we toured with ZZ Top, and we toured with Steve Winwood. And then in Canada, I kind of, because it was so hard to break into America, a lot of people just got used to having me being a Canadian. And let's just not bother trying anymore, So for a few years, we didn't do it anymore. And over the last 4 years, it's kind of a new rebirth for me. And I'm really grateful for it. And, after years of being pretty well known in Canada, I find it really refreshing coming to a place like Atlanta now and having to kind of start again and turn on an audience and have a great night. And nobody wants to all those miles and all that time. But honestly, I'm finding it really refreshing and really enjoying it. Buffalo, the gig in Buffalo is my first American blues headliner for me. I'm headlining the festival, so that's exciting.
Well, that's a different reason to be there then. It's just, I looked at the travel, I went, oh my God, the amount of hours, from total south to total north and then all the way back across home. But the thing I think to me the biggest thing that stood out is this album has been nominated by the BMA as Blues Rock Album for 2023. Now that's kind of a big deal. How do you feel about it compared to the fact that you've won so many different Canadian awards? How does it sit in the mix?
Listen, I got invited to the table. That's all I ever really wanted, was to be around my peers and, to be able to. I went to the awards and gave an award to actually Billy Gibbons. It was actually his wife because she wasn't there, but. 2 or 3 years ago, I went to the Blues Awards in Memphis for the very first time, and it's something I've always, thought maybe one day I'll get invited to the table, and this year I did, and it was really, honestly, I was very pleased. You see, what happened was the record came out the year previously, and we could have submitted for that year, but we would have only had about 3 weeks for people to hear it before the cutoff.
Yeah.
So we were really well advised to wait in the next year. And I said to everybody, really? So after my record's a year and a half old, we're gonna submit it? I said, that doesn't sound very smart to me. And everyone said, trust us. And they were right. So
yeah, they absolutely were right, because it was 20 months before venues down here were allowed to reopen. You had this huge pause button, and things for, I'd say, the last 12 months have started to cook again, and it will get much better reception and more airplay now you're touring it. Yeah, I think absolutely the right thing to do. Maybe it has a wider hit ratio based upon the size of the Canadian audience versus the American audience. I don't know what that turns into dollars. I will tell you that if you're going to make the effort to do this, you have to come back. It's the repetition of being in a town that makes it, because there's 1,000 people going to follow you 2 shows a night, every night at every venue you play, and you just got to come back. And I've told a lot of the acts that I work with that's really the only difference. If the show is good, just come back and do it again, and then you'll keep everybody tuned in to what you're doing and what's going on. I'm certainly looking forward to seeing it, because I didn't see you last time, so I think it'd be pretty cool.
You know what? I'm seeing that everywhere. We just played a LA up to Bellingham, up the west coast of the States, and we played the Troubadour in Los Angeles, and we filled it, and I was shocked because we had been there with Buddy Guy. And it was just really, and then we played San Francisco and had a lighter house because we didn't play with Buddy Guy. And it was just, it's amazing. You're absolutely right. And what you really have to do is set your sights on doable things.
Yeah.
Don't take on more than you can do. It's not worth it. And you're going to throw money into the wind and time into the wind. And there's a way to do it. And I'm 58 years old now, and I'm only learning that now. So I don't know what that says.
Oh, I make the women laugh around me when I'm doing things. I did today. I had to go get tested for a skin cancer, and I always tell the ladies at the front desk when they're talking about, I said, don't listen to any men. Men are stupid until they're at least 45. Okay, that's just the way it is. And they love that because I actually believe it, but they love that someone tells them that. But no, you're absolutely right to do what you're doing. And the other thing that you would give up is you would be able to prevent that negative feeling that comes with the failure. You can't help it. I'll pull up to a venue that I've booked, and I'll have a sinking feeling if the car park isn't full. So I feel it for a different reason, you know. So that's just the way it is. We're going to wrap up with a song I've been sitting on, and I'll tell the audience why. Another track from the album, but this time I'm allowing a cover. Like I said, I do try and let the artists promote their own material. But we're going to hear your version of As the Crow Flies, simply because, as I probably told you, I'm a huge Tony Joe White fan, and also Rory Gallagher. What you've done with the song, there's a bounce in the beat, and maybe that was deliberate, maybe that was the band just felt it, I don't know, but you made it different. But anyone that's thinking Rory Gallagher will think, yeah, Rory only ever did it as a solo, not necessarily acoustic, but mostly, but definitely solo. Because if you go on YouTube and pick through a few albums, that's all you're going to hear, except for one.
Right.
And that's what made me think of it. There is a version of him doing it very much your way on the Tattoo Sessions album from '73. And it's surprising. A lot of people will think about what I'm playing, and they've only heard Rory doing the acoustic version, but the two of you had like minds when it came to this version. So thank you for picking out one of my favorite songs because of the two different people that I relate to for that song, and an excellent interpretation, you know, steel guitar and all. Unless you fake that electrically.
No, that was like, we went into this session that day, and I just said, I had a friend from Nashville named Colin Linden, who's a fantastic guitar player, old friend of mine. And he says, have you thought about doing As the Crow Flies? And so I listened very closely to Tony Joe White's version. I mean, I always loved Tony Joe White. I heard a lot about Tony Joe White when I worked with Tom Dowd in Miami years ago, because he loved Tony Joe White. And we just got a nice little bounce going with that dobro off the start. I think the dobro just got that little clutched dobro kind of set the bounce. And my drummer and bass player just nailed it. I was so happy with their interpretation, and it just kind of took a life of its own.
Well, we're going to give it some more life. Those of you just stepping into the conversation, talking to Colin James, who's preparing his woolly knickers and his monokini to pack for a tour from Vancouver to Florida to Buffalo, in the hopes that somewhere in the middle, the weather here changes about 30, 40-degree swings the last couple of weeks. Maybe it'll settle down. But he'll be here Tuesday night, seriously, dead Tuesday night. Eddie's at it, great place to be to catch an original artist with a super band playing you some great music, which you're going to hear the last piece today. Colin, thanks so much for joining in.
Pleasure's mine. Thanks so much.
As the crow flies, baby, well, I ain't too far from you. As the crow flies, baby, well, I ain't too far from you. Yeah, but since I don't have wings, get home as fast as I want to. Well, you don't know, baby, how I miss your sweet caress. Well, you don't know, baby, how I miss your sweet caress. Yeah, and when I'm in your loving arms, girl, I'm at my very best.
Brought to you by your station for progressive information and hand-picked quality music. WRFG 89.3 FM, WRFG.org. On Saturday, April 15th, the Coalition to Shut Down ICE, Immigrations and Customs Enforcement in Georgia is holding a community rally at the Immigrant Detention Center in Folkestone, Georgia at 3 p.m. Located in one of the poorest counties in Georgia near the Florida border, it is run by the Private Prison Corporation, the GEO group which profits off the jailing of immigrants and asylum seekers in unsafe and inhumane conditions. The address is 3028 Highway 252E, Folkestone, Georgia 31537. Additional information can be found at shutdownfipc.org or at shutdownfipc. Again, the date is Saturday, April 15th at 3 p.m.
Colin James, As the Crow Flies, Tony Joe White's song, also covered by Rory. So thanks to Colin for joining us, and if you want to go catch his live band, they're at Eddie's Attic on Tuesday nights. A very unique opportunity to go see something that you're not going to see too often, coming down from Canada to play for you. And there's nothing else going on a Tuesday night usually. So anyway, I am going to finish up the rest of the show in testimonial to the great Reuben Wilson, a fabulous organ groover who I had the pleasure of joining some 15 years ago at, where was I? The Jazz Cafe in Camden in London. And and he's 88 this week, and that's why I'm doing it. You won't see him on the road anymore. Sadly, the last couple of years, he's suffering with mental capacity issues. So he's just chilling out at that age, and so would I if I'm still around. But there you go, a great organ player that we will close out the show with. More pub rock next week and some other groovy stuff. Ta-ta. Just a quick reminder, if you want to follow my musical mojo on social media, UKBob_WRFG on Instagram. You will also have to suffer some of the crazy humor I publish as well. Sorry, it's all mingled in together. Got a request? Absolutely. Email ukbob@mindspring.com and I'll dig around in the treasure trove of vinyl, see what I can dig out. Carry on. cutting in here to remind you, Saturday night, Sean Costello, Blues and Cruise, get on the bus. Look up Sean Costello Memorial Fund for the details. Yes.
Pardon me, buddy, for being so